it's funny. Unfortunately, I'm also in the bit of a morbid space today as well. So
Oh,
this should have been like a Halloween episode of some sort.
2024. Here we go.
So I
Okay.
had this article. I don't remember when this was from, but the article was titled, it's from The Guardian,
Okay.
and it's by Matt Wilson. And it's the title of the article is "How Do You Get Rid of a Beached Whale Before It Explodes?"
You don't. Don't you want to see it explode?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, I want to. I don't know if it's a good idea to be around there
Um,
when it happens, but
there was whale. I used
it's
to
definitely a hazard.
follow. There was one that beached itself like I don't know, like 10 years ago. I want to say, and I just like kept updating the
Mhm.
page, be like, "Has it blown up?" Anyway, crazy. Okay, tell me, how do you
Where was
remove a
that one?
beached whale from the beach? I don't remember.
Before it
On the
explodes.
beach.
So,
Okay.
uh,
This is gonna be so gross. Okay.
of course. So yeah, right. A little bit of backstory.
Okay.
So I have had this fascination with whales for like the past few years.
Oh.
This is the reason why I ended up finding this article somewhat by accident, but specifically, most recently, of course, there's all the stories about, I'm sure you've heard about the orcas in the Strait of Gibraltar that are all attacking the yachts. Have you seen all
Yeah.
this stuff?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, which they've become heroes for, us working class folks about like
Yeah.
attacking yachts and billionaires and trying to sink their boats,
I
which
felt
the jury
bad
sort of
for
out
at
for
first,
exactly
but
why.
if everyone's okay,
For the yachts or for the orcas?
for the
Yeah.
no, for the
I
yachts,
mean,
I was like,
even
oh,
if they sink, it's not like,
as long as everyone's
poor yacht.
okay. Yeah, sink it.
yes, I don't sink it. Yeah, they attack them. That was sort of like a passing fascination. But at some point, a few years ago, I became obsessed with blue whales
Oh,
because this is a bit of a tangent, but it'll come back into like how this plays into the story.
love it.
But effectively, so you probably know already that like the blue whale is the biggest animal on Earth, right? Do you
Mhm.
know this fact?
I was going to say, is the blue
Um,
whale the biggest one? And then I didn't. And you told me. So.
Yeah, the blue whale is the biggest one. I remember seeing something. I don't know if how true this was, but I feel like I saw it in textbook when I was a kid. That was like the blood vessels of a blue whale are big enough that like a small baby can crawl around in them. Like that's how big they get. Right.
Tunneling. Tunnel in those things.
Literally, yeah, baby. Whale
Get a
tunneling.
shovel, go to work.
Yeah,
Sick.
yeah.
Continue.
Only in the 1850s. Yeah, child labor laws won't allow that to happen anymore. So, blue whales are the biggest animals on Earth. What I found out just through passing was not only are they the biggest animal on Earth, they are in fact the biggest animal that has ever lived throughout the history of the Earth.
Wait, for real?
So, however many billions of years the Earth's been around, however many like animals have been alive that have gone extinct, dinosaurs, like whatever. The blue whales that live in the ocean right now are the biggest things that have ever lived throughout the history of Earth,
Okay, that's pretty cool.
which is insane.
That's really
It's cool, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And surprising.
So it's kind of weird. Yeah. You'd think
Mhm.
that, I don't know, for some reason that kind of blew my mind. And I became really fixated on that. And I'd like started to like watch all these videos and like read random articles about them, about like, how did that happen? Like, why are whales so big? And it's really interesting because whales. So do you know anything about how whales became whales?
No. I only know about the country, but not the
Okay.
animal.
Yeah, right. Welsh independent. How the
Well-
whales became Welsh.
Honestly, yeah. Welsh independence. Let's talk about it. No, just kidding. Go on.
Yes. Whales came out of the ocean. They landed on the country of Wales. They evolved into humans. They decided to
They
call
were
their
oppressed
country,
by the
a nod to their
English.
roots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tales old as time.
Anyway, so whales, tales old as time. So whales essentially are from like, I think I want to say it was something around like between like 30 to 50 million years ago. So seafaring animals, right? The Tiktaalik and all this, they evolve. They have like legs. They come out of the water. They crawl onto the earth. And then they finally become like land mammals.
Mm-hmm.
The earliest whale, like before whales were whales, they were basically kind of like cats or like giant rat creatures. And they were on Earth. This is real, by the way.
They were outside of the water first?
They were outside of the water first,
So
and then they're like, it's so stupid.
Whales used to be rats. Okay.
They used to be
rats.
like cat creatures, and they were on Earth. They were on the land, and they were like, bro, this sucks. I really like fish. I really like sushi. I just want to like jump into the water.
I feel that. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's really bizarre. So literally, like, whales are like this backward, like reverse evolution where it's like they came on Earth and became mammals, and then they were like, yeah, I'm not down with this. I'm gonna go back to the ocean.
That's
so
how
then
I'm
they
gonna die.
evolved into
I'm gonna walk into the sea. Speaking of dying.
It's a good way to go.
Okay.
So they go back into the water and they basically evolve into, they're not fish, obviously, but whatever. They're like, for all intents and purposes, they're mammals in the water. So they're like fish again. So that's why whales are mammals, right? So they're warm blooded.
Oh.
So as a result of this, that's why they have blubber. Blubber is a way for them to keep their bodies warm because they're not evolved to be fish again because they're straight up mammals.
I don't know why this is so funny to me.
Because it's ridiculous. You don't think of evolution working that way. You always think of it as being the most efficient way. But this is like, no, I changed my mind. I'm going to re-evolve back into a fish. But I can't do it all the way.
Okay, go on. Okay. This is absurd. It's absurd. It's absurd.
It is. It's insane.
Wait, is that why seals
but
have
it gets crazier.
Finger bones?
Yes, although I think actually, you know what? I don't know exactly what you classify seals as, if they're land mammals or if they're sea mammals. I'm not entirely sure because they're sort of hybrids. They do both.
I don't like them.
But that's why all those animals have blubber and stuff, because they're all the warm-blooded animals are the ones that have blubber. So in the case of whales, they're deep in the ocean and it's cold, so they need a lot of blubber around them. And blubber, of course, like it's fat, but it's packed much more tightly. It's like really, really good at keeping heat in.
Right.
So whales apparently, like, there's a lot of variations of them, but they don't get big until about like 3 million years ago, during the Pleistocene ice age around that time. So like, the ice age happens, things get cold, the water, whatever, currents and all that stuff kind of start shifting around, things move around. The krill and like plankton and stuff start following these different patterns. Now, the what's it called? The baleen, which is, like when you see on whales, it's like it looks like their teeth, but it's really just like hair, essentially.
It's like a broom or whatever.
These things.
I've done this
it's basically like
times.
A giant broom.
I've wiggled my fingers so many times during this podcast.
They dip them into phosphorus, but it's
then
underwater, so it's okay. And then they go on strike.
And now there's a whale.
It's a hot whale girl strike or whatever it was called. Sorry.
Hot whale girl. Okay. The matchstick girl.
Matchstick whale.
The matchstick whale union.
The matchstick whale union. Yes, exactly. Who are in their mouths. They're tired of it.
Yep.
So because they have these baleen that are, about baleen. So baleen are very, very efficient. Mm-hmm. So essentially they work as filters. Mm-hmm. At this time, a lot of other whales that are smaller die off, but what ends up becoming the blue whale becomes bigger and bigger because they have this extremely efficient way of eating, like a lot of calories without having to burn a lot of calories. And so they evolve to have their mouths just become gigantic and open up huge.
Right.
And then they just eat a bunch of stuff. And then the the baleen filters out all the crap.
Right.
And then they're just left with the plankton and they just sort of spit back out. So really, like, they don't have to like chew or like think or like hunt. They're just going around, open up their mouths.
Open their mouth and just
literally,
swim.
that's it. That's it. That's all they're doing. It's like, imagine going into your fridge and just like taking everything and just dumping it into your mouth.
And then getting rid of what I don't need.
Right. It's like, oh, we don't need this milk carton in your body, but it needs the milk. We don't need like the egg shells, but the egg can go, all this stuff. You're just like, I never have to think. I just shove a bunch of stuff into my mouth and the baleen will fix it. It'll figure it out. It's a great life, honestly. It sounds fantastic.
I can't stop laughing at this whale. Okay.
So because of this, whales get insanely big because like they're really efficient at just being able to eat. There's like all this open ocean. They get bigger and bigger. There's no natural predators for them in that sense because they're gigantic. So, you know, and now they grow to like 110 feet long or something insane like that. They're just huge creatures. But anyway, that was just a side note about them getting really big, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
So what usually happens is obviously whales die naturally out in the deep ocean. And what normally happens is they'll die, then you'll get something called whale fall, at which, you know, first they'll die and they start to decompose, and then sharks will come around and they'll sort of pick at them like other kind of weird scavengery type things. And then it'll sort of let the oxygen out or let everything out, and then it sinks to the bottom of the floor. So there's actually a huge part of, you know, ocean floor ecology of like, you know, critters and scavengers and bottom feeders are part of that ecosystem. They all eat them. Cool. It's great. It's like a huge benefit. It takes years. But, you know, of course, sometimes they get washed up on beaches, unfortunately. A lot of times this happens because they're hunting maybe too close to the shore and then they die and it gets confused. Sometimes they get beached and then they die on the beaches. But usually in the case of what we're talking about is they die and then they just get washed up. Now, the reason this is a problem, aside from just it's sad, number one, because, you know, that's not where they're meant to die. No. But number two, the thing that's really crazy about it is that if... Yeah, exactly.
Sorry. I talked
They just came here looking for work and they can't find it.
Go on. I won't interrupt anymore.
It's a podcast. Yeah. That's how we roll. Please do interrupt.
Oh, okay.
It's fine.
All
right. So obviously when a whale dies and it's washed up on shore, it's all of a sudden the circumstances change. So if it stops breathing, it has no way of getting rid of carbon dioxide in its body, right? So the cells start to break down, their membranes rupture, it starts to break down tissue, bacteria proliferates, the bacteria feeds on the, you know, the carbohydrates, the lipids and the proteins. I think the term is putrefaction.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, as that's happening, it starts to accumulate gases like CO2, methane, and nitrogen, right? So this is a natural thing that happens when bodies start to decompose.
Right.
You know, humans and whoever else, when they die, it happens, but it just comes out as like little toots and just sort of comes out the mouth or whatever. Toots! They're tooting.
So dumb. Okay.
Right? But because whales are cats that went back into the water and like are still warm-blooded and have a bunch of blubber and they're gigantic and like weigh so much, if a whale washes up on shore, it suddenly is like, it's this thing that's covered in blubber, which can't like, so these gases can't escape.
Oh.
And then also because it's so heavy and big, it's not meant to be on the beach. It's meant to be floating around in the water. But because it's like, you know, at some weird angle on the beach, like the throat closes up because of the weight of the body of it, or, you know, the anus of it is like covered with like the tail or something. So like it just basically can't get out. So these things, I know you want to laugh at the word anus. It's okay. Let's just take a minute.
I'm fine.
The anal cavity.
I am
is
a
closed
grown
off.
Woman. Continue.
No factory work for you.
No anus. Yeah, keep going. You were talking about anus.
Whale anus.
Yeah.
A whale ani. The anus.
Ani? Okay. I'm a child.
No, we both are. It's fine.
Yeah.
Anyway, so when it gets washed up on shore, basically there's nowhere for any of this to go.
Right.
So it just gets trapped in the body, and it just, as it starts decomposing, it just blows up like a balloon. And sometimes it gets up to like 3 times. It bloats. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Oh. Sometimes up to 3 times its size. Okay. So effectively, a whale is like a ticking time bomb that's on the beach. Okay. And if it's not dealt with appropriately, it can explode, like straight up explode.
Right.
Have you ever seen videos of this before?
Oh, yes. Of course I have.
Yeah.
I've gone down the video.
I'm not talking the rabbit hole. Right. And I'm not talking about stuff. I'm not talking about people blowing up whales. I'm talking about whales that are naturally exploding.
I've seen a couple of videos. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's insane.
This is not for the faint at heart. This is not for the faint at heart. If you can sort of like, if you don't like, you know, gross stuff, I wouldn't recommend it, but viscera, but it is, you know, somewhat objectively just like one of the most insane things that you'll ever see.
Wow.
because it works like a New Year's Eve like popper, where they're just like, yay, and then all the streams come out, but it's literally just all the guts of these things will just explode and go everywhere.
Like would it rain?
Wild.
Like if you were close enough, could it rain on you?
Yes. I mean,
Gross.
depending on if you're like in the trajectory of it.
Wow.
So there's a couple of ways that you have to deal with it. So when it comes up, so basically, like even if you see like a beached whale that's dead, if it's not dealt with, it's actually like really dangerous because it can just explode and just So it's like a threat. It's like a safety hazard.
Wow.
As much as it's tragic because you're seeing a dead animal, it's also something that could hurt you and hurt people around you.
Blow you up. Yeah.
Literally blow you up. Yeah. So there's essentially 4 options of how one can deal with this. And it goes from, so I'll just go through. There's a lot of like little mini things that you can do, obviously, but these are the sort of 4 main categories that it falls into. Being that this is America, the first option I'm going to go with is you blow it up.
Yeah. That's
you Michael Bay it.
You get everyone off the beach and you do what you're good at, blowing
Explode
things up.
it. You pop some dynamite in there and just go pop, and you blow it up before it blows up itself.
I keep picturing it as like one of those Looney Tunes, like where they have the like string and like the
it is
the gunpowder and they light it
with like the boom,
like the little
with TNT.
Yeah. Yep. Except it would be guts everywhere.
You can see this. So there's a very famous, I'm sure you've seen this. This is like one of the like original viral videos. That happened on November 9th, 1970 in Florence, Oregon on the South Coast. An 8-ton sperm whale washed up on shore.
8 tons.
And the local government didn't know what to do with it. They were like, cool, we're supposed to, I guess we got to get rid of it. So their decision was that they wanted to blow it up. But of course, very famously, they decided to blow it up with a 1/2 ton of dynamite, which is 20 cases roughly.
That's insane.
It's a lot. I know for people who have been on the internet for a long time, who are extremely online, this is not anything new. But for those of us, or those of you who are sort of maybe not online as much, this is kind of like a hilarious, insane thing to watch because
gotta watch it.
There's a news crew that shows up and they're like, hey, what's going on? And they're like, we got this whale on the beach. So they're there before they actually blow it up. It's like a proper news story.
Wow.
And of course, there's like the demolitions expert who's just kind of like, yeah,
we used to be a proper
we don't know.
country.
We're going to use like 20 sticks. Yeah. It's very 70s. It's the funny part of it.
Oh, yeah.
And they're just like, yeah, we got to put in 20 cases of dynamite. Maybe it'll work. We're not sure. We might have to go in and blow it up with like the half pieces again multiple times.
Is this the same guy that owned the pizza place from last episode? Sounding like
Sadly
it.
Sadly not.
Oh, different guy.
It's true. Oh, no. That's just my generic voice of just
I like
anybody
it.
being like, yeah,
Mafia. Okay, go
Mafia
on.
voice. Demolitions expert. So basically in this video, they blow it up. There's all these spectators that are around there because people are like, oh, you're going to blow up a whale. Obviously, I'm going to sit and watch this. Why would you not?
Duh.
It goes crazy. The thing just rains blood and blubber and like whale bones. It goes out to like a 1/4 mile away. It like destroys this Cadillac. Like it sinks in and just crushes the top of it.
Okay.
Moral of the story, little too much dynamite. A little too much.
Okay. Yeah. They learned.
Yeah, they learned. What the funny postscript of that is like they blow it up and it still doesn't even like effectively like blow it up. So like they still have to bring in like I forget what they call it, the giant yellow scoopy machine. I'm drawing a blank on
an excavator.
So stupid.
No.
Not yeah like
a digger.
A digger. Sorry. Yes.
Yeah.
Like the digger just like pick up the corpse and move it. I don't actually know what they ended up doing within the 70s. They probably just turned it into like a beer or something. Who knows?
Yep.
Or like
Found they could
made
get
it as
high,
part of cigarettes.
Yeah. Yep.
So this is still done, not to the extent that they did in that stupid video, but
I'm gonna go rewatch it after this.
Actually, yeah. By the way, so that town in Florence, Oregon. I'm sorry, near Florence, Oregon. They have essentially turned it into like a sort of meme about themselves. So there's like a minor league baseball team that's like the Exploding Whales. There's like a whale explosion park. Like they sort of leaned into it in the past couple of years.
That's amazing.
It's kind of great. I saw the hats. I kind of want to get one. It's literally just a whale with a stick of dynamite.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah. So they do still do
Beautiful.
controlled demolitions. I believe the idea is if it blows it up into smaller pieces, whatever scavengers can come, like seagulls can eat
yeah.
it and like take care of it and stuff. The problem with that is that if they do it too close to the waters, the chum will sort of go out in the water, and then sharks all of a sudden like, cool, there's a bunch of blood here.
They love that.
They love that. So it's not a great idea. I don't recommend it.
No.
Me, the marine biologist who's an expert on this, who's read like 5 tabs. So that's your first option. You can blow it up.
Yes.
Your second option
there's
is
more. Oh my gosh. Okay.
No, there's 4 options. So option 2 of 4 is you bury it right there on the beach.
You bury it? Oh,
You
I guess
sort
that
of-
makes sense.
You can bury it. Yeah, you can give it like a sort of whale burial. You know, you say a little prayer, whatever, however
Play
they want to
taps.
be buried. I don't. Yeah, play tap.
It served our country.
21 gun salute. So this depends greatly on the size of the whale in relation to the size of beach that it washes up on. So obviously, if you've got a really big whale on a small bit of beach, can't do it. Not going to work. But if you get a somewhat smaller whale with a big enough beach, you can get away with it.
Burying it.
So it's basically about 6 to 10 feet. If you dig down, you can get down that far. You just drop it in there, and then cover it with sand, and you're none the wiser. And just sort of all move on with their lives.
And then
so
what happens? It
in
just
New York?
blows up underneath the sand, or
That's
what?
it. No. Oh, I'm
Oh.
sorry. So I guess what you're supposed to do if it has
I
not
want it to
released the
blow up.
gases yet, you're supposed to. That's true. What you want to do is they can bring somebody in to very strategically cut. Like you just got to find like sort of like a release valve essentially to like let out the gases. That's why it's crucial to do it as quickly as possible.
Right.
Because if it like takes too long, the gas builds up more. So as soon as you see one, there should be services in the area depending on if there's a lot of, if you're in an area where that doesn't happen very often, they don't know what to do with it as much. But in New York, for example, apparently this does happen on the Long Island area. So there's people who come in and also part of this is they want to do what's the term? Is it necropsy? So it's like an autopsy, I guess is another word. So they want to figure out why this thing died in the first place for science to be like, okay, is there a bigger problem that we need to be aware of, or is it just like old age? Mm-hmm. But so in New York, it's really interesting. I was reading about this guy. His name is Robert DiGiovanni. He's a construction worker who turned marine biologist and founded what amounts to a comprehensive whale command system, the Atlantic Marine Conservation Society, AMSEAS, in 2016.
That's amazing.
This guy had a construction company in the 90s and went on some like whale watching tour and like was talking to the guy like that led it. And he was like, we really don't know a lot about whales. So I'm going to close down my construction company and then just go become a like a marine biologist instead.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah, it's crazy. So he's basically like a dead whale fixer. So he's
Mafia,
right?
He cleans up the bodies.
Speaking of mafia, he's literally the wolf from Pulp Fiction. I don't know. You have not seen Pulp Fiction.
I've seen Pulp Fiction. Yeah.
Pulp Fiction. Okay, good. So you remember when Harvey Keitel shows up and he's in his tuxedo and they got to get rid of the dead body that's in the car. It's this guy, but for dead whales. That's literally his job. Is the best way. Yeah.
What a job.
So they report it. He shows up real quick, and all these citizens are like, they're concerned or they're confused and they're sort of fascinated by it. This is the guy. He comes in. He's like, all right, I got this guy. We're going to have to do the autopsy. Sometimes we got to go out because it's not quite on the beach yet. We got to get like a little boat out there. I got to bring my scientist guys to come check it out and like pull samples. We got to figure out like their construction guys who are going to be moving it. Some people get saucy about it. They're like, pretty please would be nice. And he's just like, listen, pretty please with sugar on top. Clean up the goddamn wheel. He's just a guy. He takes it. He takes care of it. So this is a quote that I thought was really interesting because there's an interview with him. And he says, within the hour of getting the call, we'll have a basic plan of how we're going to respond. If the animal is still floating offshore, we'll need a team to go tow the animal in. We need heavy equipment to help us, excavators and bulldozers and things like that, and need to know what resources local municipalities have available and when they can get them.
Gosh.
We prefer to go out and do the necropsy with 12 to 15 people who have gone through our training, who help open up the animal, process the samples, documentation, take photos, and someone who manages the heavy equipment. But we've gone out with just 4 people to do this at times. And all this planning, the final disposition is discussed with municipalities. Usually it takes 12 to 20 hours.
What?
Yeah, so it's like quick.
Like, wow. To get all of that, everyone assembled.
Yeah.
Whale team.
This dude's a G. He's a straight gangster. Like, he knows what's up. Like, because he's got this background in construction and he's a marine biologist. He's like, I'm the dude. I know how to coordinate this. Sometimes so a lot of times he says that what they end up doing, especially in the New York area, is they'll just bury them right there because the whales aren't too big to be able to have to figure out some sort of alternative. And he said they'll do it within like an hour almost. Like while they're out there taking the sample or whatever, some guy will come in and they'll dig it up. They'll just bring it back in, plop it in, cover it, and it's done. And people are like, is it a bad idea to like bury these whales here? And does it smell or whatever? And he's just talking to them. He's like, yeah, you don't even know there's literally a whale underneath you right now as they're complaining about it.
Incredible.
Amazing, right? This guy's awesome. So that's an option. I guess that's more of what they end up doing in the New York area. So there's a lot of whales that are buried out there, but I guess it's okay. They've let out the gas. It doesn't stink. It's sort of just, same thing that happens with anything else when it gets buried.
Anything you bury, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So the third option is you tow it back out to sea. Now, what this will allow it to do is, which is to give it a sort of natural death. Or, you dump out the body just like Osama bin Laden, but you don't take pictures so people don't actually know if it even happened or not. And then conspiracies start.
This is the second time you've mentioned Osama bin Laden. Oh, no, you mentioned Saddam Hussein last time. Never mind.
Saddam Hussein last time.
Yeah, the tunnels.
Yes. It gets buried out in sea. Obviously, this is hardcore because you got to get like giant, boats and stuff or like whatever, like helicopter, who knows, like all kinds of crazy stuff. It's not necessarily the easiest option, but it is kind of I think the kind of best option if you're able to do it. But of course, these things are huge.
Probably expensive.
Sometimes they get massive. It's not really an option. Yeah, it's expensive. It's good for the general ecosystem if you're able to do that.
Right.
But it's not always an option. Apparently in 2005, in Iceland, the Coast Guard tried to remove a whale carcass from, I'm going to totally slaughter this because I don't know actually how to pronounce this, but it's Hafnarfjörður Harbor. I apologize to all our Icelandic friends. So they did a combination. So they tried splitting it in two with explosives and then manually pulling both halves out to sea.
Whoa. Okay.
This unfortunately did not work.
Yep, that's what I was waiting for.
Because both halves just drifted back to shore, so they were back where they started.
Just with two separate halves, just with two parts of the whale.
Yeah,
instead of
so
one.
they're like, now instead of one whale, we got two pieces.
Don't they like have a huge whaling industry there still?
I don't entirely know, to be honest.
Actually, they do.
I'm not sure how illegal it is. I don't know how many places it's illegal and stuff.
Anyway.
It's not as illegal. It's possible, yeah.
I have a tab open about it. I guarantee you.
You did. Excellent.
Go.
So, that's always a problem. It depends on how far out you go. So you really got to go out far, which again, as you said, gets expensive and more difficult. Now, the fourth and final option, which is not everyone's favorite, but it's an option, is you cut it up and you take it in pieces to the dump or the landfill. Which means you got to get
whale.
Yeah, right. You waste of whale. So sometimes, if you cut it up, you got to bring trucks and you got to move it. Now, there have been instances preemptively before they cut it up and take it to the landfill. So for example, there was a specific instance in Taiwan in 2004.
Okay.
Where they did not do the degassing. They didn't let all the air out before they took it in for research.
That was your first problem. Yeah,
exactly. So they get a giant truck. There's this beach sperm whale, and they just slap it on the back of a truck and
no,
just put it in with a bunch of zip ties. And they wanted to bring it to a nearby research facility. They're driving it through this town. It's called Tainan in Taiwan.
Yeah.
And as they're driving through, straight up explodes in the middle of the town.
How big was the explosion? Huge?
It was, I mean, I don't know if it was, I couldn't tell you because I don't know necessarily how to gauge the size of explosions.
Yeah.
But basically, like, all the nearby shops and bystanders were just covered in blood and whale guts everywhere.
Did anyone die?
It's crazy. I don't believe so.
Okay.
And there's no video of it. There's like pictures of the aftermath if you want to look it up.
I do.
But that's an option. But of course, you want to make sure you let the gases out.
You gotta
before
degas
you do
it, yeah.
Yeah. I also saw another video of
My
this other
grandma
sperm
always
whale.
told me, degas the whale before you throw it in the dump. She always said that.
I saw another video of them trying to put it. It was a different instance where they were trying to take the sperm whale and put it on the back of a truck, and they just dropped it, and it just exploded on impact. It's terrible. It's so messed up.
This whole story. Okay. It's absurd. It's absurd. Okay. I just picture it like a cartoon.
Anyway, so yeah, this is literally what it is to me. I'm just like, this is crazy. It's crazy.
Wow. Okay, so those are the
So
four
just
options.
to recap, those are the four. To recap, you blow it up, you bury it on the beach, give it a burial, you tow it out to sea, or you cut it up and take it to the dump. Those are your four options. But
trying to
most
think of another
importantly,
one, but I
don't do it
can't.
yourself.
Don't do it yourself. Good to know. I got to call that guy
Don't do
in
it
New
yourself
York.
is the most important part. Yeah. Yeah. Robert DiGiovanni out in New York, the wolf.
Wow.
That guy's awesome. Yes.
Wow.
So now I've taken you through the entire history of whale evolution culminating in whale death, from whale birth to
whales
whale death.
falling off a truck and and exploding. Yeah.
And exploding. Yes. Anyway, that's it. That's my tab.
Wow. Dude, I knew about the exploding, but I had no idea that, first of all, whales were mammal. I knew they were mammals. I just didn't know why.
Yeah.
And second, I didn't know, like,
Isn't
there's
it
like whole
funny?
teams that go out and take care of these ticking time bombs.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of places, like, they don't necessarily have, like, a good infrastructure for it, which is why that guy is so
Right.
interesting, because he's like, oh, this is a really specific problem. I'm going to, like, figure this out.
It must happen a lot. Or does he have a...
I think it happens often. I think I have to look up the article. I feel like it's only happened like 30, 40 times in the past like 10, 15 years maybe,
Wow.
Which is more than I thought it would be. But
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you exactly the number off the top of my head, unfortunately. I'm not that good of a researcher.
No. We're not... Look, you're not listening to this for true, deep research.
You're not listening to this, period.
And if you are, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry that you're listening to this.
No, I'm not.